When I was 19, I committed civil disobedience by chaining myself to a draft board with a couple of other people in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. And we were arrested and went to jail. And as a result, the FBI started a file on me. And this is my FBI file. You can see a lot of it's been redacted. And here's my favorite page. It's got my name and then nothing. My father's Quaker meeting in Washington, D.C. was my first introduction to what Quakers understood to be the peace testimony. So that's how it began for me. I was in a boarding school in Massachusetts, but on vacations, I would come home and go to Quaker meeting. And I started to volunteer in some of the anti-war activities at that Quaker meeting. This is 1967, 1968. And what the Quakers believed and what the Quakers did resonated very deeply with me. So that's where it began for me. I think it's important that whatever form your activism takes, whatever kinds of political or social activism you participate in, has to begin with the Holy Spirit. That's the necessary element that makes sure that it's genuine and not just politics. I see it a little differently than you. My vision is that this notion of peace is not a lofty thing that we're bringing down into our world, but it's an organic thing that lives in every person that we are trying to nurture and to bring up into the world. I think it was George Fox or William Penn who suggested that Quakers had to be examples, not in a arrogant or egotistical way, but examples in that we need to live our lives according to that deep feeling of peace that we find inside us. And if we live our lives every day, every hour, every minute, according to that spirit, others may see it, and it may happen for others as well. I struggle with this. When John Brown took 12 men to Harper's Ferry to begin a violent uprising against slavery, 2 of the 12 with him were Quakers. I cannot disrespect that because I'm sure they struggled with that decision. Without having ever met them, I think they were both hanged. I know they struggled with that decision. And I knew Quakers who fought in World War II. While my father was a conscientious objector, there were Quakers who joined the army and fought with honor. And I cannot disrespect that because it was grounded in faith. I think of one man, Kingdon Swain, George School graduate and a trustee at George School, who was awarded the Bronze Star for heroism in World War II, a lifelong 5th-generation Quaker. He was my friend, and I respect that. If your activism is grounded in the spirit of love and peace and Christ, then it's the right one for you. I had a very powerful experience once at a peace vigil in front of the White House. Either Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. Richard Nixon's last year in office, so 1973. The Quakers in Washington, D.C., where I grew up, organized a midnight march, candlelight march, to the White House and a silent vigil at the White House to ask Richard Nixon to withdraw American troops and end the war in Vietnam. I went with my father, and we marched with candles up and down for maybe 20 or 30 minutes in front of the fence in front of the White House. I think it's blocked off now, you can't do it anymore. And then the last 20 minutes before 12, before midnight, we were to stand with it, hold our candles and worship, looking at the White House, where Richard Nixon was in residence. And we all went silent. It was a beautiful night. I don't know how many there were of us, 100, 200, perhaps. And we started to worship, and then all of a sudden, the person next to me shook my hand. Worship was over. I had lost 20 minutes, as if it didn't exist. And what had happened was, I decided I would do my best to love Richard Nixon. Now, I hated Richard Nixon, but this vigil was so moving, so powerful, so many Quakers, the candles were so beautiful, and this was so important, that at the start of worship, I decided to love with all my heart. And then in an instant, 20 minutes was gone. And I realized that this wasn't John. This wasn't me, really. This was the Spirit inside myself, allowing me to love Richard Nixon, wanting him so much to end the war, and trying to love him to do it. That was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. I didn't expect it, but that one night in 1973, I felt the peace that passes all understanding. I think the best protests resemble prayer. I think Quakers have done an excellent job. Not just Quakers, others as well, but the idea of a silent vigil. I think silent vigils involve worship, involve love in its most difficult manner, if you can get there. I don't go to many demonstrations now, but the ones I do go to are vigils rather than protests, if that makes sense. My meeting organized weekly vigils for the Black Lives Matter movement, which I participated in. And they were largely silent vigils, which I appreciated. But when I was young, I was perhaps like you, and I protested in March. I was never violent, of course, always nonviolent, but direct action was very important to me, and I participated in a lot of that. I lobbied on Capitol Hill. As I mentioned, I participated in civil disobedience and went to jail. I was tear gassed and chased by state troopers at Fort Dix. So I admire those who are involved in direct action, as long as it's nonviolent direct action, and all kinds of social justice movements. But as I've gotten older, I find my knees don't work so well anymore, and a lot of that is a young person's purview. But I support them. I was part of a action project in Philadelphia, direct action, called the Weekly Action Project. And this is the local newspaper. I can unfold it a little bit. This is me right here with no beard yet and long hair, and at our court appearance. And this is the headline, Nudniks. We were called Nudniks, silent in court, and we were fined $61 for being disorderly. But the judge was clear. He said, why don't you go do this at home where you live? Why don't you come here and do this? So Judge Seymour Green was our judge. His name will always be in my memory.
And you said you have your draft cards too?
I have my draft cards, yes. Yeah, I did not burn them because I wasn't quite that prepared to go to prison. These are my draft cards from when I was 18, 19, and 20 years old. I registered as a conscientious objector, but I did not have to do alternate service because my number was not called in the lottery. So I was 2S, student deferment, and then 1H, after my number was not called. So
We are 6 days apart, actually.
in birth?
Oh. Well, plus 36 years.
Right.
Yeah, November 2nd. Thank you for
Okay.
sharing that. That's
you're welcome.
really incredible.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, can you just hold up the redacted one more time for this guy?
You do what you want,
Oh,
Scott.
okay.
Sorry, Prescott.
Oh, that's okay. So it has your name.
Yeah, they redacted, see, the arresting officers' names,
Right.
because they felt we would wreak holy revenge or something, since we were pacifists, you know.
Yeah, go have a
Quakers.
silent vigil outside.
Yeah, so we got fingerprinted and mugshot and everything, and so as a result, I can't commit any more crimes because they've got my fingerprints in Washington. So,
They've probably lost them by
That's
now.
fantastic.
I don't think so. No,
Wow, it's so amazing you have that.
yeah. Yeah, well, that was thanks to Michael Hathaway.
Yeah.